Hey everyone, welcome back, and let's write some more Leetcode today. So today let's solve the problem find eventual safe states. We're given a directed graph of n nodes where each node is labeled between 0 and n minus 1. Now we're actually given the graph as a two-dimensional array. So basically graph at index I will represent all the neighbors of the ith node. So for example, if I equals 0, then we're getting all the neighbors of the 0th node. So essentially graph at index I is a list. But remember that the edges are directed. So what this means is, let's take a look at the first example below. At index 0, we can see that this is the sublist that we have. 1 and 2 means that from the 0th node, there is an edge going outward from 0 to the first node and an edge going outward to the second node. Similarly, the next one is 2 and 3. That means there's two edges going out from this node to 2 and to 3. We're also told that a terminal node is a node that does not have any outgoing edges. So 6, of course, is a terminal node. There's no outgoing edges. 5 is also a terminal node. There are incoming edges to 5, but there are no outgoing edges. Same as 4. It's also a terminal node. The rest of these are not terminal nodes. You can see 3 has an edge going out, 2 has an edge going out, and the rest as well. But we're not so interested in terminal nodes. We're actually more interested in safe nodes. And a safe node is defined as a node that if you took every possible path from this node, every outgoing edge, and then just kept going, eventually all of the paths would lead to terminal nodes. Now, if you're clever, what you're going to realize is that what all that really means is that there's no cycles in the graph. Because think about it. What if we didn't reach a terminal node? How could that be possible? Well, let's look at 0. From 0, we can go to 1. From 1, we can go to 3. From 3, we end up back at 0. So it doesn't even matter what the other paths from 0 are, because we found one path that will never lead to a terminal node. But just to take a look, let's see what would have happened if we took a different path. Suppose we got to 1, and instead of going to 3, let's say we went to 2. Then 2 only has one other outgoing edge, which leads us to 5. 5 is a terminal node. So we did find one path from 0 that will lead to a terminal node, but that doesn't mean 0 is a safe node because one of the paths we saw earlier would lead to a cycle. So 0 is not a safe node. But doing all of that, did you notice by trying to figure out whether or not 0 is a safe node, we found out a few other things. We found out that 1 is also not a safe node because 1 was a part of the original cycle that was from 0 to 1 to 3 back to 0. So it was also part of the cycle. So 1 is also not a safe node. And we also found that 2 is a safe node. Because we went through all possible outgoing paths from 2, it only took us to 5, and then we couldn't do anything else, so 2 is a safe node. All the paths from 2 lead to a terminal node. Also, of course, we found out that 5 is a safe node because it is a terminal node. Why this is important is because we won't have to do a lot of repeated work. Because by asking the question whether or not 0 is a safe node, we found out that a bunch of nodes are or aren't safe nodes, and we won't now have to revisit them. This means we can do this algorithm in big O of, let's say, E plus V times. This is kind of a standard way to write it. What this means is the time complexity will be the total number of edges in the graph plus the total number of vertices or nodes in the graph, because we're going to do this recursively with a depth first search algorithm. I mean, how many ways are there to traverse a graph? Usually DFS is the standard way, so that's what we're going to do. And using the reasoning that I talked about earlier, we won't have to ever revisit a node or revisit an edge. So that's why this will be the time complexity. And that's going to be about as good as you can get for this problem. Before we code it up, let me just show you a couple techniques we're going to use to achieve this time complexity. So we're going to use a hash map to map each node to the status of whether it is a safe node or not. And actually, I don't think I even mentioned what we're going to return in this problem is going to be basically for every single node, we want to know if it is safe or not. And we want to return that in ascending order. That's pretty straightforward. It just means for every node that we have here, it's going to be mapped to an array. Basically, we just want to return a list of all of the safe nodes. So if we can find out whether a node is safe or not, then we will go ahead and add it to the output. So since we want to return it in ascending order though, we should probably go in ascending order. We should ask, is 0 safe or not? Is 1 safe or not? Etc, etc. We'll build that mapping, and at the same time, we will build our output array. But let me show you why this hash map is going to be important to make this solution efficient. So first we're going to have a for loop going through 0 through 6. We're going to start at the first one. And just like I showed earlier, we're going to do a DFS on this. So we're going to go to one of the outgoing nodes. We get to 1. Then from 1, we're going to go to another outgoing node. We're going to get to 2. And then from 2, we're going to go to the only outgoing node we can get to, which is 5. Now we can't go anywhere else. So what we determined is that 5 is a safe node. So to remember that, let's go ahead and add that to our hash map. So for 5, we're going to put true. It is safe. And then recursively, we're going to end up getting back to 2. And what we're going to say is, well, all of the neighbors of 2, which only includes 5, all of its neighbors were safe. So that must mean that 2 is also a safe node. So we're going to add that to the hash map as well. 2 is a safe node. And then we're going to pop back to 1. 1, though, we haven't visited all of its neighbors yet. Now we're going to go to 3. And then from 3, it only has 1 neighbor. We're going to go back to 0. At this point, we're going to get stuck in an infinite loop. So there's multiple ways to get around this. And what I'm going to do actually is, as we first visited 0, and then we visited 1 and 2, etc., etc., what we're going to first assume is those nodes are not safe nodes. So initially, we're going to add 0 and 1 to the hash map, and we're going to say false, that they are not safe. We're not 100% sure yet, but the reason we're doing this is if hypothetically we get to 3, then we add 3 and say it's also false, and then we're going to, from 3, get back to one of the original nodes that was on the same path. And we're going to know we got to one of the original nodes because in the hash map, the value false is going to be there. So once we get to 0, we know we've detected a cycle because 0 is already in the hash map as false. So at this point, we would return because we determined that 3 is not a safe node, 1 is not a safe node, and 0 is not a safe node. So at this point, we would continue our for loop. We've already determined the status of 0, then we'd get to 1. Well, if you look at our hash map, we already determined that status as well. So we don't have to repeat all that work. We did the same for 2, we did the same for 3. We didn't do 4 yet, it's not in our hash map. So let's do a DFS from 4. Okay, we're gonna initially add this as a false, because if for some reason, along this loop, we ended up back at 4, then we would be able to detect that cycle. But what we're going to find is that from 4, we get to 5. We already know that 5 is a safe node. So therefore, all the neighbors of 4 are safe nodes. That must mean that 4 is also a safe node. So we're going to pop back to 4, and we're going to take that false value that we had, erase it, and overwrite it with a true. And then we're going to continue our for loop. We know that we just did 4. We already did 5. It's already in the hash map. Now it's time to do 6, which is the simplest case. It doesn't even have any outgoing edges. Therefore, it is a safe node. So you can see that we have the status of each of these. It would be easy to convert this to a list like this one. It's pretty easy to get the result. You can see 2, 4, 5, 6 are all safe nodes. That's exactly what they had in the solution as well. So now let's code it up. Okay, so now let's code it up. The first thing I'm going to do is just get the length of the graph because we know we're going to have to iterate through 0 to n minus 1. So getting the length is pretty straightforward. We're going to have our hash map, of course. We're going to call it safe. And then we know eventually what we're going to do is a for loop. We're going to go through every node in range n. If this node is a safe node, which we're going to determine from our DFS by passing in the ith node. We haven't written our DFS yet, but if it is a safe node, that's what our DFS is going to return. Is it a safe node? If it is, well, we're going to have our result. If I is a safe node, we're going to add it to the result. You can see that this, of course, is going to build it in ascending order because we're iterating through the nodes in ascending order. So we don't have to worry about that. After we've built it, we're going to go ahead and return it. So that's pretty straightforward. Now, the only thing left is to actually write the DFS. I usually like to write recursive functions inside of the outer function because then we don't have to pass in every parameter. We don't have to pass in safe or the graph. We only have to pass in I, which is the node itself. So I'm going to have I be a variable. To eliminate repeated work, what we're going to immediately ask is if I is in safe, that means we have determined whether it's a safe node or not. So let's just return that itself. Is I a safe node or not? We know that's stored in our safe hash map. But if we don't know, first we're going to assume that it is not a safe node because then we can detect cycles. Then we're going to go through every single neighbor. We can get the neighbors pretty easily because remember that was an input parameter. We can get every neighbor of I by just taking a look at the graph. Now we want to know, is the neighbor a safe graph or not? So let's pass the neighbor into DFS. So there's two cases. One, it's not a safe node. If one of its neighbors is not a safe node, then that must mean that I is also not a safe node. So in that case, we can just immediately return the value that we assumed, which was initially false. So then we'll immediately return false. To make it even more clear, I'll literally, write it. But if it is a safe node, that doesn't really change much because we still have to go through every neighbor and confirm that every neighbor is a safe node. If every neighbor is a safe node, then this return statement will never execute. Then we'll break out of the for loop. And once we've done that, we know that this is a safe node. So we can go ahead and write that. We can assign it to be safe and then immediately return true. I don't know what's more clear. I think it'd probably be more clear if I returned the safe value itself in both cases. So I'll do that. But if you want to write it this way, feel free to, explicitly write the false and trues. But that pretty much is the entire code. Let's run it to make sure that it works. And as you can see on the left, yes, it does, and it's very efficient. So I really hope that this was helpful. If it was, please like and subscribe. It really supports the channel a lot. Consider checking out my Patreon if you'd like to further support the channel, and hopefully I'll see you pretty soon. Thanks for watching.